Time is 1 o'clock. And we will call the meeting to order. For the purposes of the meeting, I would like to appoint Member Evans to the committee.
No, you can.
Okay. I call the March 4th, 2025 meeting for the DuPage County to order. A quorum of members are physically present. I'll entertain a motion to permit those members not physically present due to illness, disability, employment purposes, or business of the board, family, or other emergencies or unexpected child care obligation to participate via video or teleconference. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We properly moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Roll call.
Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to see, and it's really a pleasure to see this much public participation, because this is a really important issue that we've had, and we've been going through probably for a couple of years now. So we're moving forward. We want to make sure that we are getting the feedback from the public.
We skipped roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Chair Childress,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zay,
Here.
Member Garcia,
Here.
Member Galassi,
Here.
Member Desart, Member Ozog,
Here.
Member Evans.
All right. I have a few opening remarks. So good afternoon and welcome to the special call of the Public Works Committee. We'll have a designated public comment period in a moment. Today we will receive a presentation and an update on the 421 Heritage Gallery Replacement Project being run through Facilities Management and designed by Taylor Studios. After the presentation, we welcome any board members' questions and comments for the design team. At the conclusion of the meeting, public comment is encouraged to be submitted on the website portal. We will provide information about the public survey, which will be open for the next 2 weeks. Now, I'll call up members of the public that have signed public comment, and please make your public comment ahead of the presentation.
Okay, so our first public commenter that signed up is Philip Buchanan. Please be advised that public comments are limited to 3 minutes, a maximum of 30 minutes per total for all public comments. Make that.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, board members, Nick, Tim, staff, and residents. My name is Philip Buchanan. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Heritage Gallery Committee. First, I want to thank you again for your support for this important project. A long time ago, we started this project. This is the document that started it all. This is why we're here. Our goal is to replace the members of the gallery to reflect the diverse history and population in DuPage County. Last year, around the same time, this contract was signed and there were some milestones. The first milestone was resource analysis and kickoff. At this time, this committee and staff should have reached out to the Heritage Gallery Committee, and they would have provided direction for this gallery. That was not done. As a result, we've had 2 misses on this design, which impeded the completion of this project. Hopefully, with this public comment, we'll reach out to the Heritage Gallery Committee and ask us for our input and ask us what this gallery should be. Last meeting, there was a number of public comments submitted. I hope Taylor Studios has access to those public comments, as well as the upcoming comments that will be submitted. Last time I spoke about what the what the exhibit should be. Should be family friendly, engaging visitors of all ages. It should be historically comprehensive, featuring a timeline that begins with Native American history and continues forward. Experiential and interactive, designed to immerse visitors through handheld learning. Technology-driven, incorporating touchscreens, social media integration, QR codes, and other crowdsourcing platforms to enhance engagement. And finally, flexible for evolving exhibits, allowing space for temporary displays and collaborations with all the other county museums. We believe these elements will create a dynamic and educational experience for the community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your comment. Our next public commenter signed up is BJ Slinger.
I have permission to sit.
Excellent, sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm very excited about the current exhibit and the proposed exhibit. My wife and I have raised 6 children born in DuPage County, and 15 of our 19 grandchildren have been born in DuPage County. So we'll have lots of field trips before, during, and after. I'm just looking at page 3 here, and I really appreciate the thorough handout, the architectural specifics, and all of the detail. I'm actually colorblind, so that doesn't, I have no questions about that. But on the last bullet point on page 3, it says, are there any specific historical events or figures you feel should be better represented in the exhibit? Perhaps in future meetings as it goes along, I'd be interested to know who are the persons that are going to be included in the new exhibit. Any changes or deletions to the current roster that I viewed this morning. Because this detail doesn't go in, this document doesn't go into the detail of persons represented. I'd like to follow that closely. And then my answer to the question is, should there be other figures to be better represented? Probably you've already included Henry Hyde to be included in the new gallery. So I could just affirm that decision and choice. And if not, I would add Henry Hyde for consideration in the Heritage Gallery, and even so much stick my neck out here and call it the Henry Hyde Heritage Hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next 2 commenters had signed up but indicated that they did not know if they wanted to comment. I'm going to call you just to give you the opportunity. So the first commenter that signed up is Michelle Bukawa. Would you like to make a comment?
Sure, I'll just go on record that I love the direction that this has gone in after we have worked in the last several months to revise it. And I think speaking for the museum staff, we are excited to continue helping with some of the historical resource data and help connecting museum experts with Taylor's team so that they can provide their expertise to Taylor to help with that development as well.
Thank you. The last public commenter who indicated not being sure whether this comment was Georgina Panko. I just want to provide you the
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's Georgine, actually. There's no
Georgine.
A at the end. That's okay.
Pardon.
Just to piggyback upon what this gentleman has said beyond the Henry Hyde comments, because we all know what that is about. I'm just curious as to who you're going to choose to be represented in the gallery. There's so many people in DuPage County that are not represented there. I mean, doing just a cursory look on whatever Wikipedia, Muddy Waters is from DuPage County, Bob Woodward is from DuPage County, the Belushi brothers are from DuPage County. Like, there's so many people who could be part of that gallery. And to piggyback upon what the first gentleman was saying, it would be great if the exhibit could have evolving exhibits or temporary exhibits to bring in more of those cultural points that are really important. Nobody knows about these things, and we should show a wide variety of artistic, journalistic. I mean, John Drury is from DuPage County, and he was a figure on news for most of my time alive as a Gen Xer. So it would be just nice to see a greater evolving base of characters and how you all decide what those people are going to be that are going to be featured, that would be worth a public meeting to have everyone say, hey, what about this person? Maybe somebody you didn't even think about. So that's all I wanted to talk about.
Thank you for your comment. That concludes the individuals who signed up for in-person comment. I want to reiterate what the chair said earlier, that anybody who wants to comment on the presentation afterwards can do so online. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go into the presentation.
We don't have the podium set up too often, so thanks for coming today. I'm Jeff Madison. I work in facilities management for the county. I'll do a brief intro here before I hand it off to the Taylor Studios design team. I just wanted to kind of give anybody who hasn't been involved in the process or kind of a refresher of where we stand today before we go through the schematic design. And we're hoping to get deeper into the content today than we have before. This is kind of the opportunity to see what subjects and what areas of DuPage's history and communities we want to see featured in this. February 4th, about a month ago, we got a revised schematic design after input from Public Works Committee and board members that have chosen to also weigh in on our meeting. So far, we've generally gone in there's a general overall historical timeline layout to it, but we also want to have in-depth people and communities detailed tied to that timeline. So it's kind of a compromise between straight up history, but also the people, places, and things that make DuPage what it is. We've also put a lot of interest in digital displays. Right now, that's mostly been the focus of a larger display at the south end. Right now, the vision for this is it's something that can be programmed now and in the future. It could be scheduled and timed to coordinate with the heritage months or holidays, communities, famous figure birthdays, that sort of thing. It would be kind of an evolving and live display. There's an option for it to be interactive, where if we want people to be able to zero in on a certain community, or if they want to go back and read a slide that popped up already, that interactive is also being considered as part of the design process. This could also incorporate short feature videos, either produced by county staff or videos that are already existing at other county museums. You'd be willing to share content and coordinate and having a connection between this central building and our outlying museums. You know, it's probably people that already have agriculture exhibits somewhere. Maybe we take a piece of their exhibit, show it here, but it's kind of a breadcrumb to let people know to go visit another museum as well. Of course, we've been working with a budget. This was allocated at the end of 23 out of an ARPA interest budget. So Taylor Studios has been designing with that in mind, trying to make sure we can build everything that we want. And this could always be phased. We could always have a priority item, whether we wanted to really play up this display. If that becomes phase 1, and then the standalone exhibits are phase 2 down the line, that's also an option. We'll be giving an updated budget at the end of concept design, which we've only just begun. And then I also wanted to thank Michelle and Emily and Mike at the Park District. Taylor Studios is also working on an exhibit for the DuPage County Historical Museum in downtown Wheaton. That's loosely tied in the process to this design as well. So I think that's helped in a lot of ways with the content features and the design. And the Wheaton Park District staff have really helped out a lot, kind of clarifying what we're looking at. And they're just a great resource, and we hope to involve them in any future evolving content that we show here. So I don't know if any board members have any comments they want to speak to before I hand it over to Taylor Studios, or we can just roll into it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I know many have already stated before, like, it's great to see so many faces and people passionate about this project. It's kind of what makes us enjoy our jobs, to see what everyone finds interesting and what they really want to learn about is, and then in this case specifically, DuPage County. So that's really what we want to get into today. What do you guys find important? So just quickly, I want to introduce who we are, since we do have a lot of new faces in the audience today. We are Taylor Studios. We're from Rantoul, Illinois. We're located just north of Champaign, so about 2 hours south of here. We are an exhibit design and fabrication firm, and we work with clients all over the country. We're in 40 of the 50 states, and we do have some international exhibits as well. So we're kind of widely known across the US for our work within the museum community, but also in other types of communities too, like zoos, aquariums, nature centers. So we have a very diverse background of types of clients that we work with. And then for the specific team that we have here today, I'm Morgan Perkins. I'm the project manager for the team. So I'm the voice of the client with the design team, and I'm with you all as a client every step of the way. All the way through each design phase, all the way through fabrication and install. I'm here for you guys, essentially. And then we have Katie Cow. She's our art director and graphic designer. She's in charge of all things printed, and she uses her expertise in color theory to make decisions and to create a visual hierarchy. So graphics are a large component in ensuring that the correct content is getting shared to visitors. So it really takes some guidance and input that Katie can put to the graphics to ensure the visitors are getting as much from the panels as they find interesting and what they really want to learn about. Next is Emma Brutman. She's our exhibit designer. She organizes and chooses the physical media to best tell the interpretive story. So it's anything physical, anything interactive, anything that goes in the space that's beyond the printed. She really dives into the stories and making sure that the audiences are taking home the stories and the feelings that is intended to within the exhibit. And then next is Pete Salmon. He's responsible for our content organization and ensuring the desired stories are being told. So he's really putting together what is the main theme that we want the exhibit to tell. What are the sub-themes? What are the specific things that you as a client desire for your visitors to take home? Let's see. And what are the goals of this presentation? So today we want to lay out our process to let you all know how we got to this point and also kind of what still remains beyond this point in time for this project. But we are essentially here to get into the meat of the content and who's being represented, what communities are going to be talked about. So we'll definitely get to that. But to start off first, we're going to quickly review the graphics and the design of the exhibit itself, and then we'll roll right into the content and we'll go through that in a block by block basis. And we'll really dive into that here in a few minutes. Let's see. I think that covers everything on me. Sorry. All right, and so I'm going to hand it off to Pete, and we're going to cover what is schematic design first.
Hello. Schematic design is the first stage of a three-stage design exhibit when you're designing an exhibit. So it is the initial thing. If you're building a house, it would be your foundation or something along those lines. I don't do any building, so I hope that analogy works for people that do. So it's the initial phase, and we do two things in this initial phase. We outline the content, and so it literally becomes an outline. We don't start writing copy or any of that. What we do is we research and we work with the we work with the members of the Public Works Committee, county staff, get resources, put together an outline, bounce that outline off of someone so we're not wasting anybody's time. So that's the first thing we do in content in the initial phase, schematic phase. And then we do rough sketches. We do rough sketches that are to represent the content that has been okayed, at least initially, and that's what we present. So what you have is schematic design, and that is what is in your hands. So you're going to see an outline, and you're also going to see generally how that outline looks in the schematic quick form so that we can get immediate feedback. There are three major benefits to starting out with content design, the schematic design. Number one is budgeting. We budget 3-4 times during the design of the guarantee that we are never charging you more than what the contract has allowed. Number two, we make hard choices. There are a lot of people in here that disagree or have different opinions. Well, we have to flush through that. We have to make the hard decisions. This stays, this goes, according to the budget, according to the space, or according to what people believe the exhibit should be. And lastly, we receive early feedback. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. If we give you beautiful colored pictures that cost too much money, that's a waste of time. We don't want to waste your time. We want to hear immediately, this really is underperforming. This is outstanding. So that is the focus for schematic design, and that is what you're going to do. This is also very important to notice. This is our entire design process. You'll notice that schematic design is 20% of the entire process. So we're trying to find out early your feedback. That also means that there's continued feedback. It's not a one and done. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for your input. We'll see you next week and we'll install. This is a relationship that we're trying to build over time and continue to get better and tighter as we move on. But notice resource analysis. Resource analysis started initially when I received some reference books, some reference websites about history, about this, about that, anything about DuPage. So if there's anyone sitting out here that says, well, wait a second, I've got a PhD in DuPage history. Nobody reached out to me. You may be reached out to, but until we get that content outlined, and everyone says we're in the right direction, that's when we are going to request to talk to the experts. And until that point comes, we will not reach out. So we have definitively shown that the schematic design phase is a success. So as we speak today, as you page through the book, as we show you what we're doing, if you can think of these things, because these are the things that would help us the most for any disappointment or any real satisfaction. What's your overall impression of these? How does the layout feel, or does it feel easy to navigate? And how accessible do you feel the exhibits are for all people, all ages and abilities? What's the specific aspect of the exhibit content you like most? What changes or improvements would you suggest to the exhibit content? That's going to be huge. Are there any specific historical events or figures you feel you should be better represented in the exhibit? And to an earlier comment, you will find certain people in your book that we are highlighting. So when someone had stood up and said, I don't even know who's being highlighted, a portion of those people that are being highlighted, we will get to, and we will show you when we get to the book itself.
All right, hi, I'm Emma. I'm the exhibit designer on this project. And like Pete started to allude to, the content is truly the star of this project. So we're gonna go through the visuals a little quickly so we can delve into the content as deeply as we need to. So the first thing I'm gonna show you is a top-down view of the space. We will talk about looks, aesthetics, images in a bit, but I first want to just make sure we're all on the same page of what we're actually looking at. So the brick wall at the south, that's not going to show up on a screen, is right there.
And the common entrances for visitors tend to be down here and up here, with the ability to also exit out on this side. The primary feature of this exhibit is a large timeline of all of county history. So each of these kiosks that you see, which we'll talk about their content in detail, represent a piece of a timeline. It starts with the earliest chronology of the area of DuPage County down here, and following the green arrows circles around to the most contemporary content, which lands up here. Another thing we're very excited about is that this is more than just your typical timeline, and that the outside of each of these kiosks is a timeline element, while the interior panels are deep dives into the content that began on the timeline. It's almost like taking a bit and zooming in and really looking deeply at it. And also Pete's gonna get into this a bit, but just as an intro, we have also thought it'd be very cool and interesting to pair these kiosks. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs, which pair the oldest chronology with the newest and move onwards, because we found a lot of through lines in this history connect across time. So we want to pull out the interesting parts of this history and find connections between old and new, modern day, and progression. So one of the other things about this layout before I go on to images is that we've really wanted to cater to every type of visitor. We know that this building gets a lot of different activity, whether it's employees, whether it's some kind of school groups coming to watch a meeting, or whether it's patrons coming for services. And we know that each of those kind of visitor has a different amount of time to spend here. So we wanted this to be an interesting exhibit, no matter if you have 15 minutes or 2 hours. So each of these kiosks can tell its own story. If you're really excited about trains, for example, you might go straight to the train section and get a very good deep dive. If you have more time to spend, you can go around the whole timeline and read all of that, read all of the deep dives and get a complete story. But individually, each piece is still going to leave you satisfied and leave a lot of room for you folks who are here every day to find something new every time you come through. So the first sketch we're going to take a look at, we're standing at the entrance. The brick wall is right here, and you're looking down the gallery towards the administrative offices. So in this rendering, this is a very early rendering, so things are still very flexible, like Pete said, but you can clearly see the difference between timeline elements and deep dive elements. So the exterior follows the timeline, mostly yellows and whites, and the interior in blues is the deep dive pieces. That visual hierarchy that Katie's going to talk more about helps visitors feel the differentiation, even if they're not consciously going, ah yes, timeline, ah yes, deep dive. We want to help guide them. Each of these kiosks are designed with ADA best practices and museum best practices. So they are spaced widely from one another, allowing complete wheelchair turnaround. The text is all going to be at heights and contrasts that allow for best visibility. We really want this exhibit to be accessible to every single person that is a part of it. And then lastly, the kiosks themselves are pretty minimal. And we understand that, and that's honestly intentional, because we want the content to be the biggest piece of this. The kiosks are a thing that holds the story. They are not the story. We want the story to shine through regardless of what's holding it up. So we've gone very minimal, very elegant, and something that'll age well. Just a call out image you can look at deeper. And then we're going to talk a little more about the digital interactives that we started to talk about. So on the brick wall, this is the thing we've kind of mentioned before, is a current events monitor. That's what we're calling it, but it does a lot more than that. That would be the place where we can display all kinds of varied content, whether that's DuPage County current events or notable citizens, possibly student art from local schools. We could pull exhibit deep dive moments and feature them there. We could do heritage months and change that out every time a new one comes up. Awards, community events, any notable achievements. It can really be an incredibly varied, evolving, and dynamic piece of the exhibit. The other screen you'll see right here is what we call the Diversity of DuPage Interactive. There are so many stories and so many people's stories to tell that we felt giving it just the static graphic wasn't sufficient. So as visitors come to this screen, they'll be able to choose from a variety of people or groups or stories that they want to learn more about. And as they click on that, they'll get a deep dive. And that's just gonna allow us to go deeper and tell more than one graphic would. Okay. And in this sketch, we are looking the opposite direction. So I just want to point out a few kind of color and flow things. So I've put in the new standard carpet color, or a very close approximation, to show that our color scheme fits really nicely into the space and makes a really beautiful contrast with the red brick. These kiosks also allow a lot of light to flow through. So while they seem like large structures, they're not blocking that light. They're not blocking ambient light. They're going to be very visible regardless of time of day. And you can also kind of see the width of the spacing between them as you look down onto the space. A lot of people can engage with this exhibit at once. We wanted to make sure that if you've got a very busy day and you've got 30 people out in the lobby waiting for services, they can all come through here and enjoy it. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Katie to talk about graphics.
Hi, I'm Katie. And I'll kind of do a quick overview of the graphics. These graphics are designed to balance visual appeal and clear communication, ensuring accessibility for diverse audiences. It's a cohesive look that ties together historical and modern elements of DuPage County's story. By pairing dynamic exterior panels with detailed interior content, the exhibit offers both an engaging overview and an opportunity for deeper exploration. This layered approach encourages visitors to connect with the county's history in a meaningful and memorable way. The font sizes and styles deliberately are varied to establish a clear hierarchy. Prominent headers grab attention, while subheaders and kind of the body text support easy information scanning. The fonts used in the header and in the body text enhance readability and provide a classic historical touch that complements the exhibit's theme. And the font consistent across the subheaders and the follow-ups will show clean, modern legibility, exactly for dense and detailed information. For the colors that we're using, this yellow is a bright, attention-grabbing color used to highlight key elements with a sense of continuity with its timeline and section highlights. The blues reflect the official brand blues of DuPage County's website, providing consistency and professionalism while serving as a clean background colors for the interior panels. And then the white and muted gray add balanced visual softness, allowing more of the vibrant elements to stand out. In these outside panels, so these are the timeline panels positioned on the outside of those kiosk structures, serve as kind of an overview for visitors. The dynamic timeline design is intended to entice visitors with a high-level snapshot of key events in DuPage County's history. The yellow serves as this guiding channel across all of the panels, creating a linear flow that represents the timeline. And this muted gray pattern in the background kind of hints at the intertwining nature of DuPage County's history while adding texture and not overwhelming the content, ensuring that the timeline is the focal point on the outside. Images are framed along that yellow line, tying them corresponding to the timeline elements chronologically. And this grid-like nature enables the variability for the amount of content we highlight on each of the panels, allowing for flexibility for like how much we can include for each event or how many or few events we can break down. These inside panels, located on the inside of the kiosk structures, they offer visitors a deeper dive into the specific events or people or topics highlighted on the exterior timeline. So it's kind of as if you go into one of the smaller stores and it's kind of expanded into a whole panel itself. And so these sections really provide detailed insights and encourages longer engagement within the exhibit. The yellow highlights kind of critical areas such as headers or call-out sections, drawing the reader's eye to the most important information for broad understanding. And we're bringing that timeline yellow line throughout inside of the interior panels as well, and to guide the visitor through the narrative on these panels. The white text ensures high contrast and readability, also enhancing the accessibility. Images will be thoughtfully placed throughout, complementing the textual information, enhancing the storytelling element of the design. We're using kind of full color images, such as photographs of historical events, maps, and artifacts to offer a vibrant and engaging way to explore DuPage County history. Since there's so much natural light pouring into this space, This allows for artifact elements to be incorporated within the design without the worry of UV damage on actual artifacts. With that, I will give this to Keith, talk about the programs.
I wanted to add something with the timeline that was requested on the outside. We have a little nickname for people, some that study. They study it, they read it, they do everything. They're the studiers. Then there's the streakers. The streakers are the people that are just looking for the headlines. So they may very well be going along your timeline and just figuring out dates. But what are the chances that someone comes up and looks at the year that Ellen Martin did this phenomenal thing where she voted with her powerful friends? And I just thought that was one of the most amazing stories of DuPage. She found a loophole. She found a loophole. What power? And she found a loophole, brought the 12 or 10 other powerful women in there. And can you imagine the men's faces when they walked in there to vote? And they said, "You're not gonna vote." And, "Dang right, I'm gonna vote. I found a loophole." And here it is. And they let him vote. Who's gonna remember the name Ellen Martin unless they go to the inside because they're so intrigued that they learn the story of Ellen Martin? That's the difference between a timeline and a story. And this is what we're trying to provide you. We're trying to provide you both. A timeline alone may work for World War II. I may go to, what was it? The first of some month, September 1st, 1939, when the Nazis attacked Poland. I may go right there, but I have context. I have context. How many people visiting have a context for DuPage? I don't know. What date are they going to go to? So they're just going to kind of move along. This is interesting. Boom, now I'm into the area. And that's where you get your story. And that's where you're going to remember Ellen Martin. You're not going to remember Ellen Martin from a timeline. So that's what we're trying to provide you. We're trying to provide you double the information. When we would initially got feedback, someone sent these boxes, and I don't mean to downplay the beauty of them, but these boxes, we want something like this. And Emma looked at that and said, "That's a great idea, but I got a better idea. Let's divide it in half. And if we divide it in half, we get double the information." So what could have happened was we could have went with that box, put a timeline around it, and then put a timeline around another one. And I think people would ignore that because there's no story. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to tell Ellen Martin's story. There's so many great stories. The midnight raid story blew me away. I'm from Cook County. I'm kind of jealous of all of you people. Kind of jealous of all of you. Because you have something special here, and I truly believe that. And it was through the research and the stories that I read that I realized, oh, not all people are the same. There are such things as politicians that are good folks. Thank you. I mean, as far as I know, that's what the rumors are.
We're gonna say thank you.
Thank you.
And that was meant sincerely. That was not meant sarcastically. So that is part of why that box opened up. And we have other reasons for the box opening up because people said, there was a comment, justify why this is the best in the world to do this. Well, it's not the best in the world. It's the best in the world with what we have, the space we have, and the money we have. And so that is what we're trying to show. We're not trying to show you the best exhibit in the world. That's a Duluth. We're trying to show you the DuPage movie. So before we start any story, no matter where we are, no matter what exhibit we're doing, we start with the central theme. And the central theme is the main focus of an exhibit. It is a sentence. It is a sentence that's going to focus us and tell us what we are here to do, okay? that gives us all the power in the world. I have a short story, if I may. I did a exhibit out, I don't know where it was, it was in Illinois. And it was for the Challenger Space Center. Challenger Space Center learned that in first and second grade, American math grades were just as good as any other country. But then something happened when they got to fourth grade. All of a sudden, we're in the basement. So the Challenger Space Center decided, we're gonna do something about this. So they created this outstanding interactive exhibit where these people go to Mars and they're talking and they're working out math to get them back to the Earth. I thought it was a wonderful idea because it hit right on fourth and fifth grade. And what we decided to do was we created a central theme that says, you are the future of space exploration. Because what is the little quiet guy doing comic books in the corner? He doesn't think he has any role in NASA, but he does. We're trying to show that. So you are the future of space exploration. Gives these children power if they're not mathematicians and computer people and all of the people in this room that make 4 times the amount of money I do. What can they do? And so we gave a bunch of examples. So one day, the director calls me, a powerful person, a lot of money, says, come here now, Pete. And usually, maybe you could, well, you know, something. You ever call me and say, get over here, I'm there in a minute. And so I went over there and he goes, you're not gonna believe this, I've got the best exhibit in the world. So I was really happy. And he said, here it is. And he pulled it and it was a 7-foot alien with pumping blood and a beating heart. I said, great. What are we gonna do with it? We're gonna put it in the exhibit. We're gonna put it in the exhibit. And I went, oh, didn't you and I create the central theme together? And he's like, the central theme? Yeah, you are the future of space exploration. Can you tell me how that fits? And he goes, I guess it doesn't, Pete. I said, no, it doesn't. And we never fought, never came to fisticuffs. We hugged, we had a beer, and we left. And it was over because we had a definitive central theme because we were all on the same page. And that's what a central theme does. It also reconciles relationships. So if any of you are having trouble at home, create a central theme with your loved one. So the central theme is what we are trying to propose, but we can't just blow it out and just have it everywhere. We're going to break it into sub-themes because we are humans. We're kind of dumb, we forget things, and now because of TikTok, we have no attention. And so we break these out into digestible pieces that support the central theme. Once they support the central theme, then we break it into storylines. Those might be the little text panels or something like that. So think of 4 exhibits, all supporting the central theme, storylines supporting the sub-theme. That's how I think of every exhibit in the world, no matter where it is or who it's for, because that is what people understand. Have you ever been to a box store and you get like into the PVC pipes? I don't even know what that is. And you're in the corner and you look up and you're like, oh my God, where am I? I'm in a corner. I don't know where to get out. I don't know anything. Organization means a lot to people because I don't want to sweat on how to get out of there before I get my size 4 screws. Anyways, so organization and understanding is what we're trying to do with this. So let's jump into the meat. So I said central theme is the thing that will determine what goes in, and much like that alien, and even more important, what does not go in. And the central theme that we propose along with the client, our client, his client. Throughout time, the people of DuPage County have continually and successfully adapted to change. I got that from about 4 of your websites. That is either, I thought you were gonna say time.
Go ahead, Dee.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
There seemed to be a lot of pride coming with that statement because I found it in several places. I found it in a book and I found it on free websites. That it is in the way that you've adapted to this massive amount of change that has come your way that has created DuPage because you've done it successfully, and that's why this is a successful county. So as our central theme, then what are we going to do? We're going to create some things that make it digestible for the visitor coming through. So each one of these sub-themes, I'll let you read them so I don't have to read them because you'll read them better. We have these 4 sub-themes. Notice how each has a way of showing success and adaptation to change. Anyone else need one? Oh, I'm sorry. If we come back, we can tinker, but you see the general gist of where we're trying to go, where we're trying to make this organized. Marketing has this great mathematical formula where if the benefit of what they're going to get takes more effort than the benefit is worth, they're not going to buy it. If an exhibit becomes too much effortful to understand it, no one's going to buy it. No one's charging to get in. If you spent $100 to get in, then I'm going to read every word. But they're just walking in. They're non-captive audiences. The moment I get frustrated with something, the moment I say, this is too difficult, I'm out the door. I'm out the door. So we have to make it as easy as possible for someone to get through these places in order to be able to pick up more information. So you have 4 sub-themes, and each sub-theme goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And each sub-theme has 2 pieces. And I'll give you an example. Glaciation here, bases of DuPage here. Can you see how the glaciation portion of things is the very beginning of the land prior to people? And now look what we've done with this land. We've created this wonderful people. We've created these great people that are really happy to be in this county. Here's another example. Railroads. When the railroads hit, all of a sudden, agriculture had to change. And they found great ways to change. And that changed the prices of land, that changed all of these things. And so that's another example of how these 2 things relate. So what we've done is we've layered this. We have 4 sub-themes and we have 2 sides, and it goes from oldest to youngest. After 3 heart attacks and this balding, I got them to match it. And I'll get back to that if I may. Oh, sorry. So here is exactly the assignment paper. And what I'd like to do is open it up and go right down here. I won't read it. You have it right in front of you. But if we can go from Wisconsin Glacier and Prairie, A, B, and someone can provide what's missing, what they don't like, or any of those comments, that is really what's going to help us further this content for our next design. Our next stage of design. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question.
please.
There's a lot of facts on these, and I
Yes.
assume that this would be somehow condensed to, I'm trying to picture paragraphs of information
Okay,
on the inside.
of course.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So, there are certain limitations with the timeline. And we will try to, number one, we try to make things as short, concise, punchy, and provocative. If I could provoke someone to go, whoa, I didn't know
Glaciers.
that.
that kind of thing.
You got it.
Okay.
And then walk onto the inside and then hear the stories.
So we can look at these as outlines of what happened, but it would be
It's
condensed.
not anything to do with the text.
Yeah, the text would be something more condensed
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
almost bite-sized. Is
Yes,
that the
ma'am.
correct term to
Yes,
use? That you're,
sure, sure.
okay.
That would be the guide.
What
my-
we're
My
putting in.
guiding thing for the next paragraph or half paragraph or 2 sentences. Yes, ma'am. It's not in any way written. I mean, it's written, but it's just, yes, how?
Hi, thank you for the great presentation and all that you have shared. We have two different documents here. We have one that we just received and the presentation that's
Yes.
beautiful and lovely. When I look at page 5 of this presentation,
Yes, ma'am.
we have 5 big themes up here.
Yes, yes,
And we have 6 big themes up here,
yes, ma'am.
and they're not same.
That's correct. I
Can you
would
explain that?
go off of the Word document, please.
Okay,
So use the paper.
Yeah, yes, use the word, yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Hi,
I also have a question with regard to page 5. So I think you guys had represented that the timeline actually went one direction and
Yes.
then went around the other direction.
Yes.
The way this is actually grouped is you've grouped it in this fashion.
That's correct.
So that's actually not according to a timeline then.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So the earliest, if I may come over,
Yeah, because
the
this is,
earliest is there, the
Right.
latest is there. Second earliest,
So it's
third
topical.
earliest, fourth earliest. So
There's a larger version here for help.
Oh,
does that make sense?
So the sub-themes connect to, but they're not necessarily
but it's not actually timeline, right?
correct. So it's like the earliest items and the latest items are connected by a sub-theme, but they're not next to each other on the timeline.
so they're also topically related
That's right.
across or diagonally.
Correct.
I think I was
Correct.
thinking that the farther you went
understand.
around, it would
I
be
understand.
more recent. Okay, got it.
That's what I thought too.
Yes, sir.
Is the central theme written in stone?
Well, I would suggest that you write your central theme or something like that, or a critique of it, so that it can be evaluated by.
Okay. I just don't want to include important stories because of the central theme.
You don't want to what?
Exclude important stories because of the central theme.
Okay, okay. Such as?
Well, just right off the bat,
Exactly.
you've got these categories, Hispanic,
I'm gonna
Asian.
jump in.
You're excluding South Asian and the Jewish
Order.
community here. Why aren't they listed?
Excuse me, a point of order has been made.
Okay,
we have to stop.
We're going to
Oh, I'm
finish your
sorry.
presentation,
Okay,
okay,
then we'll go to public comment.
sorry.
topic discussion.
That's fine.
Yes.
Board comment at this time?
I'll call it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so do you want me to go through the rest of this that's in front of you, or?
Yes, we'd like you to do that.
Oh,
And
John.
if the county board members have questions, I'll.
Yes,
call.
sir. I'm sorry.
Hey, as you guys, I know some of you told me about your schedules. Is it like 5 minutes to go through the rest of this? Is that fair to everybody? Okay, thank you. I know some of you had other meetings you told me about, so thanks.
That's why I want you to get through it.
And then I think, because I know others are gonna lose.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
thanks.
We can
I
read
want to
all
do
of
what's
this.
proper here. Okay.
Just go through it.
Okay, Wisconsin Glacier and Prairie, that's setting the tone for the fertility of your land, the flatness of your land, the eventual, prairie land that is given to farmers, all the nutrition in the soil. I'll just go quickly over these. Prehistoric Native Americans. I learned the other day that there was, Mike Wyatt, who was the old, archaeologist at the Illinois State Museum, found in 11. He believes it's a 8 to 11,000-year-old one in DuPage County, which was really exciting to me. So we talk about the different prehistoric Native Americans. Historic Native Americans, we're talking about the Illiniwek and the Potawatomi, and you'll see these, all of these bolded words. These are people that are going to be featured. The French in DuPage, how DuPage, the river was named. We were named after the river, not we, but you guys. European American settlers, Napier, Hobson, and then a bunch of families down here that were very prominent settlers. Separation from Cook County, another fascinating story. The Midnight Raid, which I know at least over at your place is a big time deal. Quality of education and the earliness of education taking root. Early country routes. So we're talking about anything from Indian pathways to plank roads. To I&M Canal, Lane in Chicago. Plenty of agri.
Where are we at?
Yeah.
Sorry. You're getting behind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My speed reading. Page 5.
Okay.
Page 5. Oh, my God.
The Underground Railroad, Israel and Avis, Dodge, Blodgett, Lucius Matta, Meldon, Matlock, Sheldon Peck, Old Charlin, Ellen Martin, African Americans, women, Asian Americans, LGBTQIA plus, Hispanic Americans.
I just want to say.
African Americans. Quality of life in DuPage. I think this is very important. This is rounding out the modern part, the upper part. Sustainability programs, and then what I call faces of DuPage. So I don't duplicate voices of DuPage. I think this would be really great to have people talk about what they really love about this county. Thank you. Oh, I should wait for questions.
Yeah.
Are there any from the county?
Yes.
Take Mary and then, Paul. And then-
Okay,
You gotta go.
a couple really brief things. Is there any mention of the telegraph in tandem with the railroads?
No, and that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, because that was a
Thank you.
contemporary. The other thing, under African American,
Yes, ma'am.
any mention of sunset towns?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm trying to read really fast here.
No, I
And then
understand. Sunset
also-
towns are in there.
Again, I've lived here almost 40 years and I'm a history nut, so
I
bear with
love
me.
history nuts.
Under, tied in with African Americans, I'd like to see, and one of our public mentioned that, reference to various religious traditions.
Yes.
And this is, don't know, the St. Petronell Church, where I used to attend in downtown Glen Ellen,
Yes, ma'am.
was established in 1926. And there is a story that they've put into a printed book that when the sign went up that the church was going to be built on the corner where it stands now, a cross was burned on that site.
Yes.
And that kind of activity in the 20s, I'd like to see that included along with the different religious traditions coming to DuPage, starting in the late 1900s, but the Catholic coming in and then going further, the latter half of the 20th century, early part, where we've got many more religions coming in, Southeastern Asia, et cetera. So covering all of the different varieties of religious traditions.
Right.
So that's fine. And I
Thank
had
you.
one other fast thought, but the telegraph should definitely incur it in, that's it. Sorry, I'm done.
Okay, Paul and then
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chair, the
chair will call on
for
members.
public comments?
Paula.
The chair will call on
Okay.
members of the public once.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael.
Thanks. I just want to start with the central theme. It's way too long, in my opinion, just way too long. So I don't, if we could shorten them up somehow, I mean, to like DuPage County, people adapting and making change or something like that. Just something that's a little bit more catchy or something like that. So I'd love to see this actually written above in the blue. There's blue on the beams up there or something like that. So, you know, we can have something like that up there. I know maybe I'm in the minority. I don't think we need a lot about the Wisconsin Glacier and Prairie. I know we disagree, but,
Our soil led to the agriculture.
but it's
Some
all of the upper, it's not DuPage, centralized. So I don't feel that that's a necessity. I would really like to just jump right into the Native Americans and talk about the people. Because I do believe that it's the people that made DuPage what it is, and I think that makes it absolutely. So I think we need to really concentrate on the people in DuPage County. So I really don't, I think that, to me, that's not, and in Mayor, what I know what Member Ozog was saying, I think we need to be cautious about a lot of religious themes in here because we are a government building. So that makes me a little bit concerned because there is this separation of state and I know it's our history and I understand that, but there is a separation of government and religion. So that makes me a little bit concerned that we want to make sure, because I know I was down there today, like with Member you, and there are some down there now that talk a lot about the religious of Wheaton and things like that. So, and I know it's part of our history, but I think we have to be very cautious about that also. That's it for me right now. I might have more later, but we'll go on to Member Evans.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry.
You know, I want to take a big step back here. I see you put so much work into this and I really appreciate it. And I think you're in a kind of a tough position because there's so many people that want to weigh in. And I think normally you probably don't have this so much back and forth and so many different types of input. So I want to acknowledge you're in a really tough position, especially since it's a small budget. So I'm just kind of pulling back the conversation for through my lens. I think that there is so much information here and I'm not confident that we can fit everything that everybody here wants on these 8 displays. And you know, aesthetically, you know, I said it before, but they look like bike path trailhead signs. And, you know, I just really like the way this uses a lot more dimension, you know, all the way to the ceiling. But I know we have a small budget. So I'm just wondering if we can, I love the idea of this large display and that's dynamic. And we could put everything that's here on maybe even a series of displays. And then it would maybe free up all the floor space. And, you know, maybe Michelle and Emily can help curate, you know, there could be all that coordination with the DuPage Historical Society. So I'm just saying that, you know, if we're trying to accomplish everything here on these, it might be difficult and we might want to really take a step back and think about whether or not we want to move forward with this physical display or just put everything in a dynamic display on these monitors that can keep changing over time. And, you know, I think we wanted to highlight a lot of the people of DuPage County and I'm sure we won't be able to put them on those displays. So those are just kind of my thoughts that I know we want to do a lot and I know you're working with our little budget. So, you know, you've done a great job with what you've been given and with all the voices that you've been listening to. But I think we might want to start thinking about whether or not we can accomplish everything that we want given this budget and given this very small space that might be better used for the floor space might be better used for some other things with this building too. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have member Vice Chair Zay on and then member you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I just my first question, do we not have the updated presentation? Does this differ from what we were sent last Friday?
No, this is what we got. This is what.
This is the same.
No, this is
This is the same.
It's the same.
Okay, because there was some confusion of what was being said, but that's fine. I mean, I have to agree with Member Evans. There's a lot here. I mean, how are we gonna make these decisions on the central theme? I mean, wouldn't like Member Garcia said, wouldn't a central theme be like DuPage County, a history for everyone? And then we could basically go to other people. I mean, when you're talking about getting everybody and important people, wouldn't we then turn to like video then on that and be able to do more of a timeline and talk about the important people in DuPage by doing a series of videos that could run in different spots? I mean, again, if we're doing static like this, I don't think we have room for everything that we've been given. So, I mean, I think we're a long ways away from where we need to be. And honestly, I was concerned because a lot of us, this has been going on since 2019. I mean, I apologize to the members of the Heritage Gallery. I thought they were part of this conversation. It seems like they weren't and weren't really updated on this. So again, that Heritage Gallery was brought to us by private donation and private people. We haven't even talked about even looking at that, about getting private donations and doing something again. But again, I mean, before we move forward, I think we need to get a cost on what something, a basic plan like this would be before we start moving forward and doing a lot more work, where you said we want to do all this, but our budget really says we can't. And I don't think anybody wants to put a product out there that's not, you know, to go over the greatness of DuPage County. We don't want to put a product out there that's half of what we want. So I think there needs to be more discussion on just basic price and where we're going at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Zay. We'll take Member Yu and then, Member Hyde.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, I agree with, Member Garcia with regard to the glacier. I think we should be focusing on the people. And so if you were to just take that out entirely, that would provide more room for, additional exhibits. The other question that I had actually echoes what, the prior members have just stated, Member Evans, about, I was hoping for less static and more interactive. And actually, you do have an additional interactive one that I didn't see before. You had this current events monitor, but then you also have this diversity of DuPage interactive screen, which I'm really, really excited about. That is very, very cool. I think I was hoping for audio, like I'm on the board of the Elmhurst History Museum, and I know that they have buttons where there's an audio, reporting of somebody talking about their experience or their life or whatever. And that's helpful for lots of different people. It's more accessible, certainly too, for people who cannot read, right? Or have to have like a screen like on every other display to show more history, more different people, all that stuff. But my question is kind of similar to Member Zay, which is this going to be so cost prohibitive that it's just not possible? And the only way we can do this is just have these two, the current events monitor and the diversity of DuPage interactive. Is there anything else that we can put on these exhibits that is not so static? That's my main question, and make it more accessible to everybody.
Thank you, Chair
Member
Childress.
Ozark, then Garcia.
That's the disadvantage of being called towards the end, that almost all of the board members have touched upon.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Chair. DuPage is really diverse, and the population is constantly evolving and changing. And I also understand that we have limitations in terms of what our budget is. So is it possible for us to stay within the budget and make some of these screens touch screens so people can choose, for example, Asian history? I want to study South Asian history. Within South Asian history, I want to study Southeast Asian history. Within that, I want to study Korean history or Sri Lankan history. And I know I'm going into the weeds of things, but is it possible for us to make some of these screens that are touch screens that people can choose to dive deeper into some of these topics? And is that within the scope of the budget that we have? I also liked what one of our public speakers mentioned about making sure that we're covering the range of the ages that we have. I was fortunate enough to actually speak to Lucy Westlake, thank you. And she's from Naperville. She's the youngest woman to climb Mount Everest, and she's from Naperville. I would love for her to be reflected in one of our She's not that person.
Oh.
I just play her on TV. I just play her on TV.
I was gonna walk towards her and hug her,
Joan,
and I'm like, why are you looking surprised? Okay, all right.
Joan was instrumental in helping us make sure we were able to meet with her yesterday
Yes,
in
ma'am.
DC. That's why I was looking at Joan.
Okay.
Because she made that possible. So having young leaders that
Yes.
our population can look up to as inspiration,
Yes.
including the diverse population we have, should be the central theme.
Yes.
You know, reflecting people, and I know many of our board members have already mentioned that. We want to show people, and I know that there are many other people who love railroads and agriculture, and and that's why I am just one voice as a part of a bigger group, and I want everyone's voice to be included. But I also wanted to share my thoughts that I want this to be people-centric.
Okay, so is the question, do you have the direct question? You want to answer this? I'm sorry.
Or can I just add something real quick? We did get a schematic design budget and we did ask Taylor
Yeah.
to itemize it out a little bit. They gave us some static screen pricing on there where it would just be like a PowerPoint that plays, and then it is a cost increase if you want touching or audio, that sort of thing. And plus programming. So if you do go into, you know, who is going to be updating content, and we would probably have to figure something out with the Wheaton Park District, or we'd have Taylor do the initial, you know, programming of these items, or whoever gets awarded it, would do the initial programming. Then we would like to be able to have a program to add to it. But obviously, yeah, the more content you put in upfront, that changes the number too. But I can resend out that budget. It was a little confusing. I think we showed it as like over 4 years. I kind of tried to simplify it just so
There's
you get.
different tiers.
Exactly. So, and it is a sort of thing where the committee could pick and choose, or we could phase it. You know, if that big monitor at the end is 25 grand, that's a quarter of our budget. Maybe we want that to be a 30 grand thing, really upgrade it, and then the static things are either future phases or we eliminate a few of the options, that sort of thing. So yeah, we are flexible in that regard when it comes to pricing and building.
I think I want to reel this back to what our purpose is here. This is not a museum. And I think that's important for us to think about. This is a space, it's a public space, and people are coming in here for many purposes, but they're not coming here to see this exhibit. We certainly invite them to do that, but generally they're here to do other business. So what we want to create is something that updates an exhibit that's 40 years old. And that's where I like the static element of it. Certainly panels could be changed out, especially at the end of the exhibit where you've got
Right.
current, who we are, population, various, you know, be it religion, race, various, all, who we are right now. You could, that page, that could be changed. But the biggest problem you face when you're doing public structures like this, it's 40 years, and I brought this up at another meeting today. It's 40 years since I was in charge of putting the signs up on the metro stations, and they are still up. And that's 40 years. So no, some of them are falling apart, but the
Can we
point
hire
is,
you?
pardon? Well,
40 years?
40 years, and they lasted. But the point is, again, like this display, when we put these things up there, they're going to be there for a very long time, be it financial issues, et cetera. So that's where the idea of putting the screen up there is great, but again, who's going to maintain it? Who's going to program it? I don't want to create a situation where you cost the county more because you've gone too far into a technological issue. So I think I like the basic plan of what you've got. The glaciers and the early Native American history, the Native Americans were here, but they were here because the glaciers are really important. I'm from Michigan too. So that the entire Midwest is here with the fabulous soil that we have and the agricultural powerhouse because of the glaciers. So an element of that, but that's why the Native Americans were here, and that's why everyone came from the East to the Midwest. And so that element of the history is fine, but as you go through, you're able to cover a lot. But this is going to be something that people take at literally little bites out of. So I love the idea of going deeper on the other side. QR codes could be elements of this, where I have a book my daughter gave me that she found, God knows where, DuPage at 100 or something.
Yeah.
So there's all different sources. So we're giving people a taste of what we're about. It's not the definitive, this is a history exhibit, because there's just too much, and it's not the target audience. This is to fill a space that has not been updated in 40 years. And, you know, elements could be added, like you could do a big poster on that wall of, you know, 500 faces of DuPage, something similar to the big fountain downtown for the time being, if you can't do the interactives, et cetera. And those are great, and we love those, but that's not, I don't think that's the scope of what this should be. So I think your overall concept, and I assume you're doing aluminum, and are you using glass or plexiglass or something?
That's an Emma question.
Okay, but I assume it's something that would be graffiti proof or interchangeable if necessary.
Oh, yes.
That's all those factors.
Yes, yes, yes.
So at any rate, I think we need to think about what our focus is, and it's not going to be a destination for people to come to. It's a building enhancement versus, we're not covering every single base, but we can certainly tell the story, which the current hall does not tell the story of DuPage. It tells stories of very specific people. And yes, they were part of the history, but it does not give you a picture of what we're about. And that's the best story that the county can tell. And, you know, we have 200 years since settlers, but we have another 5,000 years before that. We don't have to go too much into the 5,000, but there's a lot to tell a story of the last 200 years. So let's see where we were. And another thought about the theme could just be DuPage County embracing change. And we have a 200-year timeline of how we've embraced that and going forward. Done?
If I may say,
Go ahead.
one thing
Then
on
No, Garcia.
one thing on the central theme. I agree with both of you on shortening it. That would not be anywhere placed. That is for us to stay in line. And we say, hey, you know, did you know that they really have this huge monkey zoo? Let's talk about that. I don't think that has anything to do with the central theme. So we keep the central theme as long as it is, as long as it's a one sentence and generally one idea, but it doesn't have to show up anywhere. You guys can call it anything you want. DuPage embracing change, bam. It says it. You may have an intro panel that talks about exactly what that little piece means.
It's our internal guidepost for making the hard choices we talked about.
And I get to be the bad guy because I, as finance chair, no, you know, we really have to keep this, I mean, as much as this needs to be changed, our financing right now, we have to be very, very cautious of right now. We're seeing things change on a daily basis. And so I want to make sure that we are very aware of that. So as much as I love all of the ideas for touch screens and everything, I think that changing this to the basics, which gives the ideas you're giving here, and I'm sure there's a lot of information, but I'm sure with your graphics and your even your static things that they could be given out with great detail. And I like the whole flowing, you know, you can walk around. But I have to agree with Member Ozog that this is not the museum. If you want more information, you would go to the DuPage County Historical Museum. We would just be giving you information and like, wow, I'm really interested in that. Then maybe even put something on there, you know, for more information on this, please visit the DuPage County Historical Museum, something like that. But we really have to be mindful of our finances right now and make sure that we are being very, as I said, cautious and keeping our costs on, what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you. Conservative end of things until we find out exactly what's going on. So, you know, we want the moon, we're gonna have to settle for cheese. That's just the way it is, so.
I'll piggyback on what you're saying, is that I envision this to be a feeder to our historical.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, you get enough information to pique your interest by walking through. You've gotten it. If you want to learn more, that's why we have our museum not too far from here. There's a lot of wonderful things in there, but the Heritage Gallery is not gonna be your museum.
No.
I also, one second, I also wanna, before I go into public comment, and if you've made one public comment, you will be last given the time of day. The issue for me is that I think that you all are the stars of the show. It was rainy, cold, and you guys came out. And I wanna start by thanking you for doing that, because this is an important issue. We're spending taxpayers' money. We want it to be what you want it to be. And I see a lot of knowledge in this room, looking at one right now that let us know things that we didn't even know. So as we start to build and design the Heritage Gallery, I would think that you at least get to the survey or be part of the committee to help us design these things. Because it is about the public. It's not about whether Mike thinks it's this or that. It's really about the people. And I see that gentleman in the corner over there. We'll start
thank you.
there.
My name is Tom Craighead, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, because they do have men. And I'm a member of the NAACP, because they do have white people. And I started working on this project with Dawn and Becky, who was here at the very beginning, when we were all kind of appalled at how undiverse it was. And so in general, and I've been working with Phil as we resurrected that, I would like to keep it not necessarily on individuals, but on periodic of times. But there's one thing that I have to say really strongly, because I'm a preacher, and Jeremiah, as you may know, the prophet. This is so sugar-coated. It does not tell about what it was like to be a slave and what it was like to risk your life coming north, coming across the Mississippi from Missouri. It doesn't tell that President Childress is still fighting a lot of things. It doesn't tell about how the indigenous people were wiped out by disease and then were shoved off their land by treaty after treaty. So anyway, I'll be quiet, but I just feel you gotta tell the whole story. It's just way too sugar-coated for me. You're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mary Lou Worley. I'm a local historian from the Naperville area. You're putting 5,000 pounds in a 2-ounce bag. The strength of DuPage County and the work that you as elected officials, as administrators, as citizens of this county and this country, that is the story. It is the story of our county and the founding of our rule of law, of the freedoms and the administration of those that are given by this DuPage County facility. You tell people, yes, you're married. You say, yes, that we have stormwater management. Yes, all of the services that you provide with the feedback from the community's experience and also their education. Those changes have run throughout this county since it became a county in 1839. And I hate to see you miss the strength of who is here, who is your audience. The comments here are absolutely right. And if you can give people more confidence and trust in the freedoms they have because of what you do, what we do together, that is what this is about. All of these other things are hugely important and can be found elsewhere for the curious. But you can't let everybody know every little detail because they're busy, they're coming in, they're coming out. And I think you're missing the boat by not saying who you are as DuPage County and incorporating those stories. So take your big topics of your department heads, put some personal stories as to how that managed. Yes, you do own your business. We have measured your land. It is recorded in our office. Our sheriff's, pick a department. So in a nutshell, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I came here not knowing much. I just read about it in the Daily Herald. I'm passionate about history, and please reconsider what your central theme is. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm part of the Alliance of Latinos Motivating Action in the Suburbs. We've been around for 2 years, so this Hispanic little blurb, I would really like to be a part of, or acknowledge or also just kind of give you more information, because I feel like that's lacking. I think for the longest time I worked for DuPage County, the courthouse. And it was almost like no one was really acknowledging or, realizing that there is Spanish or Hispanic community here. So I actually helped do mediations in Spanish, bilingual therapist. So anyhow, I'm very passionate. I'm glad that I'm here, but I would really like to include more things here. I know that where there's a budget, there's only so many resources, but I would love to continue coming and providing any feedback. And I did see that there's an agency on there, but I also want to be acknowledged in there because I feel like we've done a lot in these past 2 years.
I look forward to your comment.
Ma'am, just to answer your question, I found very little Hispanic, and that's why I put in TBD. Because as I explained earlier, I've just started out on the research. And then once that research gets okayed, or once the content gets okayed, then we are going to go to the people that know. So perhaps one day you and I will talk.
There will be a public survey. We'll be going live in the next day here. There's little handouts there that'll take you to the website, and there are fillable forms there. So we're seeking more input, people, places, ideas. That's what.
Thank you.
And I want to emphasize, you all are the start of the show. You have to give us that feedback. The surveys are important. These meetings are important. These are open for you. Bill.
I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to touch on a couple of points. I want to echo what Member Garcia said on being budget conscious. There are 30 museum groups in this county, many with existing exhibits that could easily transfer here. And we could partner with them to keep our costs down, to bring existing exhibits here, and we can go back and forth. That would be a cost savings. There's a lot of stories to tell. You're right. We want to tell them all. And the important stories. And I just want to make sure that the overall theme will not exclude these important stories that need to be told. Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right. So that, I think that, just a quick couple of comments here. Thank you, for your time. And again, I do want to emphasize that you all are the start. Thanks for coming out on this rainy day. The outline handouts were passed out and have a QR code and a link to the county website and it has been set up for the projects. The webpage will include a link to a video of this public meeting as well as PDFs of the presentation by Taylor Studios, a public survey for additional feedback, and we really do need that. And content of the project is now live. And it also has a link to the webpage. The survey will be open for 2 weeks, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So make sure you do that before you start your drinking that day.
Hey, ethnic stereotyping. My mother was from Ireland.
That's the ninth exhibit.
It's a holy day in Ireland. Come on.
Everybody celebrates, doesn't matter what nationality.
That's true.
you are.
That's true.
If you're celebrating, just give us a survey before you start. The county welcomes any and all comments.
I'm sorry, Michael, I couldn't stop myself.
Cause I'm celebrating that day too, so.
Good.
All right, and without objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim.